Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. You got Will here today. I don't think we have any pre-submitted questions. Let me just double check that. So if you have a question, please feel free to ask away. Doesn't look like I have any pre-submitted yet, but so let me know what you'd like help with. Okay, yeah, definitely. Come for confirmation, I have no pre-submitted questions. So floor is open. As always, you can ask in chat. You can ask in Q&A or just use raise hand and I'll unmute you and then we can get your question out and start hashing it out together. Okay, I'm in. What do you have for us today, sir?
Hi, I submitted a question, but it was just a minute ago, so maybe you probably didn't get it. So I need to update a specific case entity in a flow. It's not a trigger flow, it's just a flow.
Okay.
And I need to know the entity ID or the folder ID of that particular case entity so that I can change its state and do further processing.
Okay.
How can I get the entity ID or the folder ID?
Okay. So let's talk about the scenario here really quick. You want someone to, what's the user experience? Like you need someone to go edit an existing case?
There is no user interface here.
Okay.
Some other system is gonna call this flow as an API,
Okay.
and they will probably send a case ID, and that case ID it's a field in the defined case entity. This case ID is a field that I defined. It's not the entity
Got it.
ID, the folder ID.
Okay, sure. So I have some cases. We'll use one of those. Let me just create a folder for today. We're just going to use a fetch entities step.
Okay.
And that should give us what we need here theoretically. So here's a lunch learn folder. So let's create a flow. Now I have some cases. I think case test one I have somewhere. I'm going to grab a fetch entity step here. I'm going to set the type name to folder. There we go. And I'm going to search case. I should have case test one. I have a couple of these. I'll just use that. Now, so you have a custom property on your case, right?
Yeah, case ID.
I have one here called string one. Let's assume this is your case ID.
Okay.
Right? And then what I can do with this flow, I can configure integration. I can allow it to be called as an API. I'll just leave everything else the same.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to come set up a piece of input data and I'll just call this thing, case ID, right? Whatever. That's fine.
Yes.
Then I can take that and I can, now that I've added a fetch criteria for here, str1, but for case ID, I can map in that value from case ID. Now, let me see. I don't know. Let me actually do this really quick. I'm just going to kill this and run this really fast just to see if I have any cases for this particular type. No results. I don't have any case test ones. That's unfortunate. Let's create one really quick.
The problem is the entity ID or folder ID, they are not properties in the user defined type that I made.
They are part of the full, like, yes, correct. So you're saying, you're wondering where those properties are located at?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, they're part of the folder. That's why here on this, what we're doing is using this fetch entity step when to properly use requires you to think a bit about the data structure. You're going to fetch a folder. We know a case is a folder extension.
Yeah.
Now, if you look on the bottom here, what you'll see, let me just do show path for one result to make this a little easier. Now, like here's a trick. Fetch entities can just return me a single result if one result comes back. It can make dealing with the results a bit easier. So I'm going to collapse results and just look here. So what I do is I get back entity result, and you can see type folder, and then I get back entity extension result, which is case test one or my extension type. On my fetch criteria, I get access to the combined properties of both of those.
Both of them. So the entity and the folder.
Correct. So here, for example, you can see state. or
Yeah,
nesting
yeah,
level,
yeah.
those are properties of the folder.
And the trick here is to define that in the set in the fetch entity and the properties, I set the type to folder and then extension to that case.
That's right. And then it
Okay.
will, this folder extension will bind them together for you.
Okay, okay, great. Yeah, that answers my question. I have another very quick question, just to
Sure,
understand the relation.
of course.
Can we say that each case entity has only one extension ID in it, or does it
Correct.
have? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So that's a one-to-one relationship.
It is a one-to-one. Yes. The folder table, if you were to look at this in the database, and you could, like here, we might do, let's just select star from, let me find one of my case tables. All right, here we go. Case test one. Well, I don't know if any of these have data. I'm not sure which one I picked. Let's try case test 1A really quickly. I'm just going to insert the table name. Good, there's a record there. So this is a case. This is the extension data for a case. You can see I always use my str1 with garbage text. It
Mhm.
has extension ID. I'm just going to call this thing as, case object, right? This is an
And
alias.
this
Go
record
ahead.
here is a combined data of the folder and the keys, right?
It will be once I join it on the entity folder
The
here.
entity folder.
And what you'll see is I'm going to join entity folder extension ID on the case object dot extension ID. Once I do that, I should then
Okay.
get the full thing. This is what that fetch entity step is doing for you. And the piece that gets most confusing is usually your case object. It does not have, say, your folder name
Yeah.
or the state. Those are some common things that are missing.
Yeah.
One way, additionally, too, though, that when you're looking at this, let's assume I didn't fetch this way. You should be able to get, if I look at, let me search for case test 1A here, and I look at the data. If I look at Data Explorer, so any results, I've switched this around. I put my extension type in
Yeah.
my type name, and I look at any result. You should see this special property here called extended folder.
Extended folder.
And
Yeah.
inside of extended folder is the linked folder itself. So we give you this for free. We link the
Okay.
extension object backwards in the data designer. So you
Yeah.
can't insert data here, but if you needed to, like, say, fetch folder, if after you have a case, you want to interact or show something from its folder, you get this special property here called extended folder, kind
Yeah.
of like a virtual property. This is
Yeah.
the folder, the same folder that we were just showing here momentarily. Okay.
Okay. And the type name that I put, if I use the previous way, the type name that I input here in the in the fetch entities properties, I just select folder, right? It's just one type. Like there is only one folder type, not many that I have to choose from.
Say that one more time
Uh,
for me. I'm sorry.
And in the properties here to the right, in the type
Hmm.
name,
Right.
if I use the first way that you showed me earlier to
Hmm.
select a folder here,
Right.
there is only one folder type, right? Not many that I
Correct.
need to use to choose from, just a folder.
Yeah. The way I'd like you to think about it is you're creating many different folder types by extending our default folder object through cases or folder extensions or process folders. There's a
Okay, but
single folder type that gets extended in a myriad of ways based on the number of cases you create.
okay, but each case would have its own folder, right?
It's one to one. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And here
yeah.
you can
That
see us
makes sense.
joining, like, yes, there is one folder for every individual for one case.
Yes, yes, absolutely. All right, yeah, that answers it. Thank you very much.
All right, you bet. Happy to help. All right, we got a question from Vitali. If I delete a case, will that delete everything in the folder? Yes, like documents, comments, and assignments. Yes, deleting a case should delete all of its content as well. If you're not seeing that, that sounds like a DT. I don't actually think do we give you the control? Like if I come here and I manage delete folder, it provides me delete options, complete or keep content. But if I add a case, and then let me try to delete it, manage. Oh, I need to find case test one. Hold on. Case test 1A, there's my case data structure. Let's go to its containing folder. All right, 710. Here's case test 1A. Edit. Let me show delete action. And let me come back to 724. And let me right click this, manage delete folder. Oh, so it's, yes, so it's the same, it just is a normal folder delete. So yes, you should be able to control complete or keep contents when you delete it.
So, Will, if I do it from the flow and there is a delete case action, would that do complete delete, or should I go and try to delete the folder, extended folder itself?
Let's quickly check that for you. I don't know the answer to that, but we should be able to test that super quick. I'm gonna add a, let's just go to completed, and we'll add a trigger flow. And we'll put an assignment on the trigger flow. Oops, let's try that again, boom. And this will be assigned to administrators. Garbage, garbage, garbage. Okay. Now let me come back to my case and change state to completed. Okay, I got an assignment now. If I click in and, oh yeah, look at my folder view. Hold on. Sorry, that assignment didn't inherit its folder context automatically. That's not ideal. Assignment setup. Assignment folder type from flow. Assignment folder ID, select value, folder ID. And we'll come back. We'll change state to started. And we'll change state to completed. All right, now I have a new assignment. Click in here, runtime case, folder view. There's the assignment. All right. So then what step are you using? The actual delete case step from user defined types?
Yeah, I guess
Case.
there is one for that.
Yeah, delete. Let's see. Delete, and I'll hard code the ID of that thing. I'm just stealing it out of the URL here after clicking into it. Debug. Okay. Now, if I come back to 724, my case is gone. Now, if I do other, and let's look here. Let's look at the assignment table. Oops. Okay. And let's look at entity name and deleted. ASDF deleted, true. The assignment definitely got deleted. This other ASDF would have been our first one that was in a different folder. So yes, it looks like the default delete step does delete at least assignments. I'm assuming documents must behave the same way.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you bet. All right, we got a question from Daryl. I have a form with input from 3 objects. The objects are converged for 3 different tiers. I'm trying to build out the rest of the flow as one flow instead of having 3 flows based on what the customer selects on the form. Daryl, I'm not sure I understand the scenario here exactly.
Okay, yeah, I'll tell you, Will. So what I have here, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. What I have here is an insurance form. We have 3 objects built, bronze, silver, and gold, just like tier coverage packages. On the form, the customer can select whether they want gold, whether they want silver, whether they want bronze.
Okay.
So we had a previous developer build this out, and they built 3 different flows. So if the customer selected gold on the form,
Okay.
there were several steps that for gold following the form. And then there was the same for silver, same for bronze.
Okay.
What I've tried to do is combine that into one subflow.
Okay.
And just say customer selected gold, now process these steps after gold.
Okay.
The problem I'm running into is I can't map back because the original form and object was set up based on 3 flows. And so I'm trying to find inputs based on one. So I'm not just saying for this flow, select the gold coverage. I needed to be able to say select whatever coverage the customer picked, if that makes sense.
On the form, how are they selecting coverage?
It's a button. So, you know, think of it like a grid that we put out on a form, has all the coverages, and then they select a button. That button says gold coverage, and then
I
it
see.
should launch you into a gold coverage flow. What I would want it to do is launch you into the flow no matter what the coverage is, whether it's gold, whether it's bronze, whether it's silver. It's going to launch because there's a lot of duplication. The first person that built it basically built the same flow 3 times. And I
Okay.
just want to be able to do it once.
So is it is it one form or is it 3 separate forms
One form, and it has
with 3 buttons? So 3 outcome paths, right? One for gold, one for platinum.
Yep. One for gold, silver, and bronze. Yep.
Okay.
And then on the output, we had 3 flows built, and I'm trying to streamline it to one just to be like, okay, customer selected gold, follow this flow. If they select silver, you could follow the same flow, but the inputs are all messed up because originally it was built where you would be going and looking at the gold object to get that coverage out, and it'll go to the silver object to get that coverage out. I needed to be able to just get the coverage no matter what object it comes from, if that makes sense.
So there's a separate like output object for each path. Like that's different.
Yeah. How it originally was built, yes. And I don't know if I could share in this format, but like, yeah.
Unfortunately not.
But yes, it's just, yeah, if you can imagine like 3 database structures that has coverages in it, and then we have a form built that basically said display these coverages for each date that comes from each database. And so now the output of that form, I'm sending out coverages, I'm sending out some questions, and I'm trying to get that flow to actually go to calculate a premium. And then, you know, we got some JSON stuff that we're doing at the end. So I was able to duplicate what the previous developer did. I just am struggling with mapping the coverages because it's based on gold, silver, bronze, not just coverage A, coverage B, coverage C. And so that's the problem. My inputs are not able to be matched without saying this flow is a gold flow. And I really need it to just be a flow, no matter if it's gold, silver, or bronze, if that makes sense.
God, I'm not sure how to, I'm just trying to think through. There's so maybe let's really quickly here. Let's create another folder here. Right now you've got a flow with a form in it. We're gonna create a new form, and on this form we're gonna put 2 buttons.
Sure.
Gold and bronze, right?
That works.
Oh, good Lord. Come on. Gold and bronze. All right, so now I have a text box. Let's just call this, you know, whatever amount or whatever. Okay, so right now, if I look at my text box, it is not used for gold and it is required for bronze. So if I save this and I look at the flow here, I've got 2 output paths, gold and bronze. Now, if I look at if I select the form here and I come down, I actually only have 1 output for bronze right now. That's because that output isn't used in gold. So if I edit this form and I select the text box and I change this to optional or required, now I come back here, I should have 2 outputs. I should have bronze. I have outputs here, bronze and gold. They both have the same property. My thought is maybe some of the properties are only outputting on certain output paths. And you can see that under these outcome scenarios here. If something is set to not used, so let's add you can just see what this might look like on a text box here. I'll add this one called name. And we're going to set this one to be defaulted. It's not used as a part of the gold. If we come back and we look at this flow, now you have what appears to be separate data objects coming out of the form on the different paths. Gold only has a single one for amount. Bronze has amount and name. But that's controlled by the control on the form, allowing its output to be passed on specific output paths.
Okay, so let me ask a question. What if we use labels instead of text boxes? So say all of our coverages on this grid are listed in a label. We map it based on a label. So I don't see that when you change the required or
Then
optional.
if a label is the thing you need to look for label is, now labels shouldn't be able to be output as data at all. You can get input dynamically for a label by selecting text from data name, but it shouldn't be an output.
Yeah. So what we did is we put all of our coverages are labels and we select text from data name and mapped to what the coverage is in the database object, the data structure that's basically, if you imagine, before the form. So it's displaying all the coverages on the form in labels. And so what I'm struggling with now is after the form, there's still other steps we need to do. It's not just display on the, now we're saying customer likes the gold package. So they select gold and now we got to finish this flow out so they can actually buy a policy. That's a good example. So now I look, you select gold, I need to calculate your premium. And so there's several other flows that we have after it that I've tried to combine down to one flow. The problem is the mapping again, because I'll give you an example. I'm trying to map deductible. And in my input data, when I look to try to select from flow, deductible doesn't show. But if I went into gold coverage and then select deductible, then I'm mapped correctly, if that makes sense.
So on the output path from the gold for the existing build, if you look at that, there's a subflow on the gold path, right?
Yes.
Right, in the old design. If you edit that subflow and you click on setup input data, do you see deductible defined as an input?
Let's check and look really quick. So deductible, all the actual inputs are designed, and I will tell you that because I'm looking at all the subflows on the original build, and it does not have. Well, let me go back one more. All right, so yes, looks like there are defined in the subflows.
So on the start step of the subflow, you see something called deductible.
Or actually, I see it in a subflow, like after the form. There's a flow after the form. It looks like they're defining those inputs in those remaining flows, if that makes sense. It's not on the start.
Like, so they're using like a create data step to define a deductible value?
No. So let me give you a best way to say it. So going back to your previous flow, if you X out here, imagine there was flow 1, flow 2, flow 3. Inside of each of those flows, they've went up and set up inputs for each of those flows.
Right, exactly.
And deductible is a part of one of those in the original build. Yes, deductible's in there.
But so if you click on the subflow in the property panel, you see deductible as an input.
Yes, I do.
Right, and what's the map?
It's an input, but it's mapped. But now just goes back to the problem. It's mapped as the gold coverage deductible. And so it works perfect because this flow only goes with anything that's selected as gold coverage.
I see.
What I'm building is a flow that says no matter if it's gold, silver, or bronze, I still need to get the deductible.
So here, if we looked at this as name, you might just have to change the name. So look at amount here. We know that amount is an output that is shared by either of these, either by bronze or gold, right? So the component has a shared name. So the same value can go out on bronze or on gold. So I think maybe it's a naming convention on your form controls.
Okay, all right.
That's your problem. It's too specific to the path. So you need to anonymize your name.
Okay.
And then that would allow you to handle passing one, like, so, yeah, I guess maybe, yeah, if you have, this one's a little hard. It's probably, let me do this. Let me ask someone, I guess, to reach out, maybe just review this with you, like on a screen share.
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah, we can do that because it's a complex flow because it's an insurance-based flow based on some tiers. And I'm looking at what you're saying on that form. Everything's being defined on the outputs as gold coverage, bronze coverage, silver coverage. So you could only select it past that flow in its own individual coverage, ideally. So yeah, this would be a good one for screen share that I could get maybe a one-on-one with.
Yeah, let me, can you just send me a quick email so I can just tag someone into it and have them reach out to you? It's will@decisions.com.
Okay, just will@decisions.com.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll get someone from support to reach out and walk you through it.
Okay, that's perfect. Let's see. Will@decisions.com. Will@decisions. All right, I'm just a question. And all right, I just hit send here.
Okay. All right, I'll have someone reach out and try to review that with you, Daryl.
Sure, that'd be
Okay.
good. Thank you. Appreciate
You
it.
bet. You bet. All right, here we go. We got Milan. I have changed a data item on my form from text to drop down. Created a flow.
Hi, Will. Sorry, I fixed that problem whilst we were on this call, but
already?
I've got a different slight problem, and
Sure.
something much more simpler than what that was. I don't know how I fixed it, but it's fixed. So it's good.
Okay.
So I've introduced a drop down on an existing dashboard
Okay.
on a form, and that drop down is now sort of becoming a separator within my matrix. So even though it's part of my matrix, so it's got 5 values in there. One of them is business type. That business type is now seems to be sort of a header in the sort of a master row in there, and then whatever's related to it is appearing below it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether it's some configuration I've accidentally pressed, but it seems to be, it seems to have my my business type, and then all the rows that I put into my matrix, to my truth table, with that particular business type below it, and then there's another business type, and it's all of those below it, and so on. So it's kind of like creating a I can't remember what the right word is to describe it, really.
Let's see. Let me try to get something on the screen here really quick.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna create a flow here, and I'm gonna fetch accounts to give me some object with complex properties. I'm gonna build a form here, and on this form I'm gonna put a button, and then I'm gonna put a drop-down list, and the type I will set to account. The display field I'm gonna set to email address, and the list input source I'm gonna set to data name so I can get data from that, and I'll be call all accounts to show. And I'm gonna save this. Okay, and run. So now then if I just pass in entity results for my fetch entity step, I can have all, and I won't default anything here in my selected item. If I run this, so here's a drop-down list. I see just the property I've selected specifically. Or excuse me, I see the 6 accounts on the system today showing the property, the email address for that data type that I selected. What
Right.
You're seeing something different than this?
So actually, it's I just noticed that it's not my. It's so if I've got let's say I've got a dashboard with 6 columns on it.
Okay.
One of the columns is now become a filter or a sort of a header in there. I don't know whether that's a setting or not. But if on your screen, if you had a truth table with 6 columns along,
in a form, is it an actual decisions truth table you're referring to here?
Yeah, I've created a truth table and a form over it.
So this is like an external data truth table?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, you're editing records in the truth table.
Yeah. So when I look at my view of it, in,
Okay.
my dashboard,
Okay.
I've suddenly got lines in there, which is one of the columns, but as a row, and then all the values that relate to that particular row below it. So if we had three columns in your truth table,
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, and 3, A, B, and C.
Okay.
When I view my matrix, I've got A, and then anything below that, A, B, and C, and then if there's another value in column A, A1, and then the values that relate to A1. So yeah, so do you know when you've got on your screen right now, you've got flow and then flow 1.
Right. Right.
It's like that, but with my data from my truth table.
Okay. Here, bear with me. Let me just quickly get. You're using an
Sorry,
external
it's-
truth table, right?
Sorry, it's very hard to describe it without showing
No.
you.
No. This is fine. So I'm just going to name. I'm going to create an entity. Oops. With 2 properties, str1 and str2. Okay. I am going to.
I think that it was just one of the settings actually. I know what it was. It's really stupid. It was a group setting on the matrix that was clicked. It was grouping the data.
Oh, I see. You're actually talking
Yeah.
about. So you're talking about actually grouping or ungrouping the
Yeah,
properties in a
yeah.
report.
I thought it was because I've been working on the form. I thought I'd done some
I see.
setting, but it's actually just a view thing. So I think I'm all good. So sorry for wasting your time.
Oh, no worries. Happy to help.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay. Any other questions from anyone today? Okay. Let us know if you have any questions. I'll just hang out for a minute or two here in case anyone has any other questions. Don't see any questions being posted or hands being raised right now, so please let me know.
Hey, Will.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I have an issue that our scheduled jobs and they're just simple flows. They just stopped like a month ago in multiple environments, and we did not change anything to environment,
Okay.
neither to flows, and we don't have any errors, neither in logs or scheduled job logs. If I run it manually, it runs fine.
So first thing I would check is to see if you have a system validation that is something like
Database related.
yeah, like there's this thing. We've had it trip. So first thing is check if your server can be job server false. Like mine is mine is false right now. So maybe I have the system validation. Let's go see if I have an actual one. System validation, all validation issues, database or yeah, let's do just data. Yeah, this is this right here. This thinks that I moved this database from a different system. You see that, and so what it's actually doing is there is a, let me stop my share. Let me reshare my whole screen just a moment here. This is probably your issue. You need to solve this, and to solve it, you need to make sure that an ID in platform version, blah, 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 platform version. If I look in platform version, there will be a DB settings ID here.
Mhm.
That needs to match a file on the file system, which is decision server, instances, control, database. No. Yeah, database. There should be a database file here with that ID. I think it's, what's the name?
Is that gonna be the same for the containers?
Interesting question. I don't think we've seen that for containers yet.
One idea, could that be an issue if we have a couple environments connected to the same database server, but they are different databases on that server?
Not at the data, no, not if they're not, so they share a SQL server, but have different databases.
Yeah. Well,
No, that won't be a problem.
Postgres. Yeah, on the containers. So basically those databases, they live on the same server.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. Having multiple databases running on the same SQL server won't cause this to occur. I don't know.
Like I told you, we did not have any environment changes. So there is no change
Mhm.
that we have moved database from one instance to another in this case.
Yeah, no, this can happen inadvertently at reasons that are unclear. I don't yet know what to do about the container question, but this DB settings ID on a Windows server needs to match a database ID or a file named database. It'd be like an empty text file with that ID. Likely that file needs to exist for the containers too. I don't know. Let me get back to you on this one. I'm not sure. I don't know, because the file system for the container should be completely, if you look, you could see if, check the database and see if you see this. Check your system validation and see if you see, if you see a validation. That validation is the issue. Now,
And
how to fix it on a container, I'm not sure in the moment right now.
one thing that could be helpful, I don't know if that makes sense, but if I run it manually, and then let's say I do expect my job run at, let's say 12, and then I run it, it didn't run, I run it at 1 and it's daily job. And then that should tell me that next run is the next day at 12, but it basically does not change that next run.
Run manually shouldn't cause next run date to update, as
Oh,
I understand it.
okay.
But the problem is not your job, it's that the job server itself, it's preventing itself from running jobs because of a check we added. Think when that triggers, that fail, that inadvertently activates, where there's where it thinks you've cloned the database, say from prod to a non-prod environment. So it's arbitrarily shutting job server activity down for you.
But it's not running in dev as well. So could that be like a time difference between like a database server? So for example, if my database server is like Eastern time and my actual server is UTC, could that be an issue?
That would just make the times, it would just make the job appear to run at odd times, not prevent the job from running.
Oh, okay.
I just reached out, but no one's replying to me. I'm not sure what to do to fix that in a container hosting right now. But check to see if you have the system validation, check to see if you have job server false.
Mhm.
You can enable the job server manually. I think it will, when you restart, it will disable itself till we solve the problem though.
Okay.
Let me see, send us reply. Andrew made a flow. Oh. What's this flow do? Let me see if maybe there's a flow here I could send to you. Hold on, what is this flow? Right. Container utilities import. Sure. Okay, container utilities. Add core, add database text. I execute command, split, raw SQL, create text file. Yeah, so this is, they're using a flow here to do this. This container utilities flow, the support team has built this to add the database file to the app server. Execute command. Let's see here. File storage location. I see it returns a file storage location, splits it,
So you can run
runs a
any bin
SQL
bash
query.
commands,
You can run bash commands, yes.
and that's using the which authentication?
Which authentication?
Yeah.
I have
It's
no
not-
idea. Whatever the service, whatever the system is using.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's running, and then it's going to take that, it's going to query platform version for the non-null value, and then it's going to write that in a text file at the, oh, it's in primary settings, excuse me. It's in primary settings database ID. Let's see that, if that's here. Do I have that? I probably don't have all that path. Go back. Yeah, what is primary settings? Hold on, what are we doing? The solution doesn't make sense to me. File name is database ID slash primary slash setting. Database ID dash txt. Create a text file. Oh, I see. That's the location. So in primary settings, database ID dash txt. That's the path that they're adding this file to. You see here, that's the file. That is the split string by new lines name. That's the file storage location. Oh, I'm being an idiot. File storage location. Sorry. Let me see. Let's start this again. So you'd find your file storage location. Yeah, primary settings, database ID, txt. You need to add that database file here. And there we got it. I got it now. This is the ID. This value should match the platform version value for DB settings ID. You need to add that file to that location, and then close the validation and turn job server on. And then when you restart future containers, that'll fix it.
Okay. I'll try that.
Okay. Anybody else got any other questions for us today? Alrighty. All right. Thanks, everybody. I will talk to you all tomorrow, same time. All right. Have a great day.